As a public service to the citizens of the city of Fulton, I've been videotaping meetings since January of 1992. My only motive is a firm belief that an informed electorate will make an informed decision at election time that will ultimately benefit us all. If you share my belief and would like to donate blank videotape to help with my expenses, please call me at 598-5120. Donations of videotapes are greatly needed. Thank you. My name is Terry Reynolds. Videotapes of all City of Fulton Common Council meetings are available to rent free of charge to the public at Video World.
Roll call, please. Mayor? Present. First Ward? Here. Second Ward? Here. Third Ward? Fourth Ward? Here. Fifth Ward? Here. Sixth Ward? Here. All present except for Third Ward, Your Honor. Thank you. First item, please. Resolve the following bills are hereby approved for payment. New York State Environmental Conservation, $7,500 for pollution discharge elimination program fee. Bolano Brothers, $2,070 for 3 fire hydrants. Tracy Road Equipment, $1,023.05 for parts. Agway Petroleum, $1,421.27 for gasoline. Oswego County Solid Waste, $8,923.50 for tip and fees. Aqua, $8,628.14 for water. Life Science Laboratories, Inc., $1,045 for sludge analysis. Babcock Oil, $2,369.74 for diesel. Northern Bituminous, $11,086, $12,680, $8,188, and $9,414 for blacktop. The above items are budgeted, but over the $1,000 charter limit and requires the council's approval. Motion, please.
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. 2, please. Result that the mayor is hereby authorized to sign a quitclaim deed for Yvonne M. Stone for the property located at 10 Wells Street, Fulton, New York.
I'll move it.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 3, please. Resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to sign a 1-year maintenance agreement between Alltel and the city of Fulton for maintenance agreement on the Toshiba Strata DK96 telephone system at the municipal building at a cost of $1,536.15. The cost is to be a direct charge to the building account. Budgeted? Yes. Motion, please.
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. 4, please. Whereas the city engineer and city clerk opened bids on September 2nd at 4:15 p.m. in the council chambers for piping materials for the city of Fulton as directed by the Common Council. Whereas the bids were referred to the city engineer to be checked and reviewed with a recommendation to be returned to this council at this meeting. Whereas the city engineer, per his letter dated September 7th, recommends that the bid be awarded to the low bidder, being Martisco Corporation, Liverpool, New York, in the amount of $13,517.40. Whereas the Common Council concurs with the recommendation made by the city engineer, now therefore be it resolved that the low bid submitted by Martisco Corporation in the amount of $13,517.40 be awarded to said Martisco Corporation, said cost to be a direct charge to the F 8340.4 transmission and distribution account.
I'll move it.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 5, please.
Resolved that the waterworks superintendent be authorized to accept the proposal dated September 3rd for Perat Wolf Incorporated, East Syracuse, New York, in an amount not to exceed $2,700 for hydrological services at the Great Bear well field to be a direct charge to the F8320.45 source of supply power and pumping account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 6, please.
A bond resolution authorizing the issuance of $122,000 serial bonds, City of Fulton, to pay the cost of the purchase of a building and parking lot adjacent thereto for city purposes.
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
3 to 2? Carried.
I didn't get the other no. It was Ross.
Ross and Lincoln.
Thank you.
7, please.
Resolved that the Water and Sanitation Commissioner is hereby authorized to purchase one pretreatment program manager software package from ARCA, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $4,500 to be a direct charge to the industrial pretreatment account. This is a budgeted item.
Motion, please.
I'll move it.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 8, please.
Resolved, the Water and Sanitation Commissioner is hereby authorized to purchase one pH monitor and recorder for the monitoring of pH of the influent to the wastewater treatment plant from Cole Palmer Instrument Company at a cost not to exceed $1,867 to be a direct charge to the G8131 Industrial Pretreatment account. This is a budgeted item.
Motion, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Under discussion, 1 is off. City Attorney has been asked to research and review this the proposal. There's a new law, federal law now, that gives municipalities an option to regulate cable television. And he's going to look into it and see exactly what it means and where our best options are. So it's off for now until we get that report. 2, please. These are proposed rules. Pardon?
Not take any action on that one. Number 2. That's the assessment.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a request from the state to release names to certify, or rather certified data that's not available under the Freedom of Information law, so that the state can sell it and make money. And they need a resolution from the council, though, in order to do this. Frankly, I think I would make a motion at this time not to do it. I don't know whether that's really appropriate or not, but for want of a better motion, why I would do that. Any second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
This is not. Aye.
This is not to do it, right?
Not to
Right.
do it.
I'll go ahead.
Aye.
Yeah.
Any,
West First Street.
no, anybody in opposition? Carried. I think that's the first negative motion we've ever had.
Oh, you'll hear about it.
3. Rick, did you want to address this? Council?
We have an opportunity to have a developer come into the KBC Plaza and turn it into a strip shopping. Pardon me?
Use the microphone.
We have an opportunity to have a developer come into the KBC shopping center and develop it into several different small stores and one large grocery store. And we've been negotiating with this developer for over a year. And one of our problems that we've had is the amount of property taxes assessed on the property. And we do have some late fees and penalties that we are requesting some forgiveness for in order for us to help us through this deal, and requesting the forgiveness of all penalties until we're able to get the deal forward. And we're looking probably at about another 30 to 60 days before we can probably finalize the deal.
You're talking about penalties but not interest.
Penalties and interest.
And interest?
Yes.
Are you asking that they be waived permanently or temporarily until the deal goes through with rectification thereafter?
No, permanently.
Permanent. Okay, that's not what you said. That's why I asked you that.
You're not making a contingent on the deal going through.
If we can get the relief on relief of all penalties and fees, we feel very strongly we can get the deal to go through, and then all back taxes will be paid off on the building.
But supposing the council agreed to do a contingent upon the deal going through.
I'd be more than accepting to that.
Do you know what they amount to?
Approximately somewhere in the vicinity of $20,000.
And what are the total taxes themselves that are due?
About $100,000. That includes the fees and the penalties.
So the taxes themselves are about $80,000.
That's correct.
Is this the only deal you've been able to get so far?
And we've been working with real estate companies throughout the area for a year and a half. And this is the only real live deal.
This is a sale of the building, or is this a lease agreement?
This is a sale of the building.
Is it common knowledge who the developer is?
I don't believe so. I can tell you if you would like to know. It's the Scrivener Company out of Oklahoma City. Scrivener.
Anyone else in the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience? So the proposal would be a motion to forgive the penalties and interest. Okay, the city attorney, who wasn't able to be here, has asked that if there was any proposal that he be permitted to prepare the stipulation. So if you don't mind, we'll just have to hold it until the next meeting. I really hate to do that in view of his written suggestion.
He'd be here at 9, huh?
Pardon?
Said he'd be here a little later in the evening, maybe.
If he does get here later, why then we could do something then, if you want to stick around.
Okay, I will wait.
Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
hold that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, number 4 we have to hold for city attorney too. He, the one that has the information on that. And number 5, Dick Harris wishes to address the council. Dick?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I met with you in March this year to talk about the possibility of establishing an employees assistance program for the employees of the city of Fulton. I've discussed it with some of the board members, and since then we've submitted a proposal that will be included in the budget for the coming year. Maybe I should let people know who I represent before I start
That's
talking.
a good idea.
I'm the director, my name is Richard Hare, and I'm the director of North Central New York Employee Assistance Program, which is a subdivision of Alcoholism Services in Oswego County Incorporated, which is an alcohol rehabilitation clinic located here in Fulton. An employee assistance program is a cost-free program, or a cost-effective program, to provide assistance to employees who are having troubles on or off the job. These are personal problems. They could be marital problems, alcohol problems, drug problems, physical problems, mental problems. any type of a problem that's interfering with their ability to perform their normal life functions. Being able to come to work, doing a good job at their job, maybe having problems in their family. What they would do is they would make an appointment to see one of our counselors. We would make an assessment of need and then refer these people to the appropriate agencies, trying to keep it within the community, number one, and in keeping with their insurance policy, so it'll be cost-free to them to help them solve their problems. We then follow up and make sure that they follow through with their appointments and any aftercare that may have to be, that may be needed. Our company, at this point in time, we realize that the budget won't be around until January. We're willing to offer free service at this point until the end of the year to begin to establish the program for the city of employees, or City of Fulton employees. We would meet with each of the department heads, explain our program, meet with the employees, and explain the program to them, and set up the program to see how it goes between now and the first of the year. So that's why I'm here tonight, to make that proposal to the council or answer any questions that anyone may have.
Would you let us know this time?
Is the switch on? Or,
Just shot myself. Could you tell us what the approximate cost per employee would be to be covered under this
It would
program?
be $17 per year per employee. That covers the employee and their immediate family.
Does this cover them no matter how many times or what kind of service they use? Or is there an additional charge if they had to be in there,
No.
say, once a week?
It would be unlimited as far as we're concerned. However, if they were referred to an agency, to some sort of an agency or individual, then they would be liable for the cost. But we always try to make sure that we send them to people that are insurance covers. For instance, if I wanted to send, someone comes in that's got a marital problem, and we want to send them to marriage counselors, we would seek out a marriage counselor that would accept their insurance program.
Dick, so that people understand, and the council, yours is not a counseling agency, you're a screening agency.
We're a screening agency, yes.
You assess the person, see what the problem is, find the appropriate agency or individual who can help them. Is that correct?
Exactly. Or if a person was to come in, for instance, we get, believe it or not, we get a good many people are coming in with grieving issues, where someone suddenly died in their family, or someone has a terminal illness. It's a short-term process where we help them to get through this, and some of us have been trained in that field. I'm a credential.
So you can give some assistance?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
We have contracts with other companies here in town. We have a contract with Nestle's, Silrite, NET and Dye Company, West Rico. They've been very effective.
Anyone from the audience have any questions?
Does they have some kind of service like that?
I'm not sure. I think they do. I think they do.
What did he say?
Who?
The county service?
County, I don't know.
You mean county employees?
County of Oswego.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, I work for the county. They do have a program similar to that.
Yeah, they have an EAP program.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's, they call
Helps
it help.
people.
Yeah, I think that's what they call it,
Yeah.
help. Or something like that.
But that's for the employees of the county.
Right.
Right.
How about a plain taxpayer? Are they getting help?
Pardon?
How about a common ordinary taxpayer? Can they get any help from the county? I think they can. I think they have counseling services for.
I don't know, but this program would only be for city employees. It's like a group program. Anyone else? So what you're looking for now is a resolution for the rest of this year only.
Exactly.
Yes. And I'm sorry, I didn't get it, Dick. Was there a charge or
No.
not?
No.
And you're going to do this free of charge?
Free of charge.
Anybody want to make a motion to accept that proposal?
Before we make any motion to do that, I strongly feel that any services that we're going to offer city employees should be done through a negotiation process, not simply in an agency to present it to them.
I agree.
I'd have to concur with that also.
Want to hold it till next week then and have the union representatives here? Okay.
Well, but they should be negotiating with our city attorney on that.
Because we're currently
Would you
working
have to
with those.
negotiate it? I mean, you're not talking about any expense. If the union said they would accept it,
You're talking no expense this year.
yeah.
Next year, you're starting a contract.
Well, next year, you know, you have a choice whether you want to make contract or not.
And this cost is $17 per individual, is it? In case if he uses it or not?
Well, that's,
Yes.
city's going to pay that.
You know,
That would be charged to the city,
the reason
not to the individual.
Dick, the reason I say this is that, you know, this is a service that's provided, that would be provided for employees, all right? They have union representatives to speak for them for what they want in their contracts. Maybe because of the coverage they already have or might get, or a different program that might be offered, they might waive the services that you're presenting, good, bad, or indifferent, okay, in lieu of something else that they would like to have. And I don't want to take that away from them, okay, that opportunity to be able to negotiate in their best interest too.
I understand.
Well,
Okay, so
why don't we ask the unions if they want to consider it, and if they want to accept it, if it's free, why, you know, try it out. Tom, do you know what's happening here?
On the EAP, Your Honor?
Yeah.
We had that on the table. It was set aside. We didn't go any further with it. It was seriously considered.
This is free
yeah.
for the rest of the year.
Yes, we accept it.
Do the firemen want to consider this?
Free for the rest of the year?
That's what I mean.
I'd like to say for the union people that if you'd like to, the chocolate workers at Nestle's are very much in favor of this program. We can get...
The city, in other words, has absolutely no obligation or responsibility under this program. If anybody
between now and
says,
1st of January.
any employee, if got a problem, can go to you.
That's exactly
You know,
right.
they don't have to check with us or anybody.
You wouldn't even know about it.
Wow, I like that.
Let me say this, that the only report that the city gets, its numbers, to let, when we have a contract with a company, at the beginning of each month, we give them a report on how the program is being used, but there are no names mentioned in those reports. They're strictly confidential.
So it's all statistical.
All statistical, exactly.
Gentlemen?
Is this a state-funded program? Like how
No,
do you get paid for it?
organization.
How do you get paid?
We're getting the
for servicing these
$17.
people?
The only way we get paid is by if people happen to use our clinic. Now, let me explain that too. Yes, we do have a clinic here in town. We'll say we get a person with an alcohol problem. That person, there would be an evaluation done by me or one of my workers, and if the person needed treatment, we would then give the person a list of places where they can be treated. In our brochure, we have a list of treatment agencies that offer help for alcoholism treatment. If the person wants to, they could come to our agency, and then their insurance would pay us. Yes, we would make money that way.
Okay.
But the initial assessment, you might say we do that at a loss.
Yeah, I can imagine. But until they actually go to some clinic for treatment, they
It
don't
costs
pay.
them absolutely nothing.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
Maybe I want to read it?
Pardon?
Would you want me to read it?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Dick, what's the
Why
name
don't
of
we draw
the...
your motion until he reads it?
I didn't hear the
Jim?
name of your...
North Central New York
Okay.
Employee Assistance Program.
Resolved that the North Central New York Employee Assistance Program be accepted at no cost to the city of Fulton for a trial basis to expire 12/31/93. That's what we're saying, right?
Exactly.
I'll move it.
Second? I'll second it.
I have one other question. If the employees use the service, and then they're going to put in a claim to the insurance company, wouldn't that raise our insurance rate, our premium? Joe? Would that have an effect on our insurance? If the employees use the service and they put in a claim to the insurance company, wouldn't that affect our rates?
They may, though, send them to like a preferred provider or somebody they're set up with that would be cheaper than having our employees go to one on their own.
I don't know how familiar you are with insurance right now, but we got a thing called managed care, and they're policing their insurance policies pretty close.
I don't, we may be able to...
It may save you money. If they send you to somebody that they're set up with, you know, they may be able to do it cheaper than one of our employees going somewhere on their own.
Yeah, because they may have more options of where you can send an employee where a doctor has just certain places.
The reason why I asked is because you told us that our rates were skyrocketing now. We didn't budget enough for it as it was, and I don't want to affect that any more than what we have this year.
I think it would be
but
cheaper.
It would be less expensive?
Be cheaper than they're going to a doctor, and it's certainly cheaper if that person decides they can't work. Ross?
I think we got another point I'd like to make to you. Sometimes you get a person that's got a problem, and when they come for the initial assessment, the problem that's presenting them to us may not be the basis of the other troubles. It could be a deeper lying problem. So therefore, we're sending them directly, and like you said, it could be cheaper in many cases, because you're getting to the exact problem.
Gentlemen, if I could, I'm sorry, Jim. I would just like to make one statement where I'm afraid we're getting the cart ahead of the horse again. We're passing a resolution, or in the process of starting to pass a resolution that's going to affect employees of the city that we don't even know if they want this service or not. I suggest we don't do it.
But you got two representatives of the union who said they want it, Dave.
How do we go about mandating that our employees go through this first, though?
You can't mandate them. That's their privilege.
Yes. I didn't really come to speak tonight on behalf of Dick Hare. I'm Hugh McKenzie, first-time manager with Nestle. And we've had Dick Hare's organization, I don't know, Dick, 7, 8 years? 7 years. And, you know, you asked a question on insurance. Without the EAP, our insurance costs would have gone up. It is significantly cheaper to counsel someone on alcoholism on an outpatient basis than it is going to Benjamin Rush, was it $200 a day or some incredible sum? It's much easier to get the problem. It's like any kind of a medical problem. Get it before, at the very outset of the problem, as opposed to when it's aggravated the condition. The costs are very expensive. And as far as the union goes, I know if I went to the union at Nestle tomorrow and said the EAP program is over, I don't know how I say this in nice language, I'd have a serious problem. Because the program has worked very well for our employees, and it's worked very, very well for the families. A lot of times there's absenteeism, and I don't know about city employees. When you're absent in Nestle, you don't get paid. And the absenteeism could maybe not caused by the husband or the wife, but a problem with the child, and that's addressed. It's really, as far as a payback, it's hard to calculate. And as far as confidentiality, I get all the reports because EAP is part of the personnel department for reporting, and I think we got like 127 people after the first half of the year. I don't know one of them. And if I told Dick, if I ever know one of them, that Dick's contract is gone. He knows that. The confidentiality. I can't speak highly enough. For $17, the bang you get for your dollar, and now you're getting it, you know, for no charge for 3 months. I mean, the bang's got to be great. If you help one person with one 10-year-old kid who's fooling around with drugs for free, my God, you've gotten the money back. I think it's something for 3 months you ought to try, and I think the unions ought to sit down and talk with Dick because their people got problems because they're no different than a factory worker. And something has to be addressed. Thank you. And I didn't come to speak on behalf of Dick.
Thanks, you. Yeah, and once Benjamin Rush or one of the other treatment places in Syracuse gets you in your clutches, you're there for 30 days at $200+ a day.
It's gone way up. The average inpatient now is about $13,000 for a 28-day program. Outpatient's $2,500.
Okay. Roll call on the motion, please.
First ward. Yeah, the mayor second.
Okay.
First ward.
Yes.
Second ward.
Yes.
Third ward. Absent. I'm sorry. Fourth ward.
Yes.
Fifth ward.
Abstain.
Sixth ward.
Yes.
Motion's carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thanks, Dick.
Thank you.
Item 6 is a motion for a public hearing on the city administrator's position.
Before we get to that, are the employees going to get paperwork on this? Can you explain it?
Yes. I'll get a list of each union personnel and the department heads, and maybe we can arrange some sort of a meeting with them so we can explain them.
Okay.
I'll give you a brochure before I leave tonight.
Thank you. Joe?
Resolved that the city clerk be authorized to advertise for a public hearing to be held on September 21st at 7:30 p.m. relative to a local law to create the position of a city administrator.
Motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything from the council before we go into executive session? Anyone who wishes to bring anything before the council?
Two questions. One was that ban on the purchase tonight on building and parking lot.
That's a bond anticipation bill.
Yeah, that's,
It's a
I'm
bond
sorry,
anticipation bill.
that's the initials for bond anticipation, no.
That's stopping the purchase of the building.
No, it's already, yeah, I know. I thought the same thing myself at first when I saw it.
Okay, the other question I have is, last Tuesday evening you had a meeting. Last Tuesday, is it on? Yeah. Last Tuesday evening you had a meeting, a special meeting, and I get pre-agendas and all it said was contract negotiation on it. No other explanation of what the meeting was about. And then I find out, I read in the paper that you went into an executive session on contract negotiations over the water and sewer rights for the new Kmart Plaza. And was anyone present from Kmart or Wide Waters at this discussion?
No, it was also for possible litigation.
Well, who was representing Wide Waters in your contract negotiation over this?
No one.
All right. Is it legal to go into contract negotiation like that in executive session?
Well, it was also, as I say, proposed litigation.
Okay. Why the sudden change from 4 or 5 months ago over giving them nothing more than what was already given to them when the county promised sales taxes would become a county sales tax? They promised it to the council. They never even brought it to the floor. When the council tried very hard to strike a deal with the town of Valney in the city's best interest, they offered them money, $100,000 or whatever, so that we could annex the land so our city retail business would not be hurt. Why, when our sales tax is a very important part of our property tax base, keep our property revenues down, at which point I don't understand. I called Mr. Lincoln Friday and asked him his reasons for his vote, and he told me that we depend too much on property tax.
No,
we
sales
we
tax.
depend, right.
Sales revenue.
You
Yeah.
said we depend too much on sales tax revenue. Well,
Yeah.
John, in the last 4 years, we've lost $2.5 million in assessed property taxes due to companies getting the reductions, Nestle, Silroy, Black Clausen, plus the exemptions of the cogen plant, Quality Inn. All that money had to be picked up by someone. It got picked up by the property owners, the homeowners that pay their taxes. So we do depend on sales tax. We need sales tax, John. That thinking is totally wrong for this city, that what you told me, that we depend too much on sales tax. Who was supposed to foot the bill? $2.5 million is over $1 million in lost revenue for the city, county, and school a year. That had to be picked up. It got picked up by us. That's why our taxes have doubled in 5 years. Our property taxes have doubled. Why? What is the benefit to this city to just, the only thing we have to offer to anyone outside the city is sewer and water. We gave it away for free for a simple charge of...
No, we haven't given away the sewer and water. If you're going to make a statement, make accurate statements, please, Ron.
We're getting a simple charge back.
All right, but don't say that the sewer and water is free. It isn't. It's 125%. So let me make a statement.
Well, can I finish, please?
No, because you're rambling on about... Percy, you're not running this meeting, and you're not speaking.
Oh, bullshit. Can I please finish first? I'm almost done. as a council, you all stuck together in the spring to make sure this, whatever happened with Kmart, would be good for the benefit of all the city, of James Way, of all our Canal View merchants, of Woolworths, Bergen's, Harris Army, Goldberg's, all these stores, all our grocery stores. You wanted to make sure it was going to be treated fairly. The 4% and 7% is total, 4% tax to 7% tax, sales tax, is totally unfair. That's why, as a council, you were against giving them any more. For the life of me, for getting nothing in return, why did you turn your backs on all our community now, all our retailers who've been here for years, and just give them the go-ahead at 4%? I just would like to know the reasons for your vote and why this was brought up all of a sudden in almost a special session for just this one reason.
Okay. You finished?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to make one statement as to my reasons, and that's going to be it. Anybody else wants to express their concerns, they'll be welcome to do that, and we'll have that opportunity. I'm not going to respond over and over again, okay? The Whitewaters, we all know, of course, that the annexation failed. Whitewaters was faced with a deadline by Kmart. They either had to have in place sufficient water and sewer within 2 weeks, and that was about 10 days ago, or they were not going to get the financing they need to put in the 3 stores that they needed to make just to break even. And they asked for the extra 7,000 gallons in order to qualify for that financing that they had to have. I've been thinking about this for quite some time. It isn't anything new, of course, ever since we had the original meeting where we rejected their proposal. We also had a meeting not too long ago where they were limited to water to 4,000 gallons a day. Now that was not in the original resolution passed by the council in '89. That limited only the sewer. So now we are also facing a threat and lawsuit over that late resolution to limit the amount of water. But since Walmart has moved into Oswego and moved into Northern Lights, now you also have Sam's in Northern Lights, our base is deteriorated. We now have, you talk about James Way being threatened. Well, James Way is already in bankruptcy. I also have it on pretty good authority that 2 large stores downtown are not going to redo the releases. Now, for the past 10 or more years, the downtown has steadily deteriorated. I don't see where there's any improvement in that situation. Nothing is happening that's going to make it any better. That's pretty obvious. And I learned today that all efforts to bring in new business have failed. So I couldn't see where Fulton was going anyway. I would rather see people staying here, going to Kmart, rather than going to Great Northern or Oswego to spend their money. At least if they stay in this area, we do have a chance of improving our business base. Some businesses will get better. This was on the authority of an expert whose lecture that I attended in Oswego, and I think many of the merchants did. And he admitted, yes, they are competitive, but there are ways to compete with them, and they do bring in some businesses. But the clincher for me was about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I read the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, I'm not sure which one, where a city like Fulton had Kmart locate there, and despite all the prognostications and the predictions of doom, they did not go down, they prospered. So it seemed to me that a step in the right direction. At least it is something that we're doing instead of standing still, not doing anything, staying with the same old scenario, and Fulton continues to deteriorate. If we're going to grow, we're going to have to try something. Now, the contract has been signed, it can't be rescinded, but it's limited to 3 stores. They will only get water and sewer service for 3 stores If it's less than the amount that they asked for, that's all they get. They try to add any more there, then that will void the contract, and then they'll get zero. So that's the situation. Okay, who's next? Percy?
I'm not coming up there, George.
Good.
Right.
I thought you had enough of it anyway.
Pardon?
I thought you had enough of it anyway.
No.
Oh, all right.
Now when it comes to rubbing me the wrong way, as far as I'm concerned, your meeting that you held in private was illegal. Completely illegal. I've talked to several attorneys. The Freedom of Information law states the fact that if you had the Whitewater Corporation in there, then it would have been a different story. But you cannot, in good conscience, hold a private meeting in the conference room and come out here and vote upon that same subject. It's illegal, George, I have to say it.
Percy, I've said several times that there was proposed litigation. That comes under the Freedom of Information Act.
I can remember years ago when the Pyramid Mall come here, the council and myself took the position that if the building was built within the city limits, they could have water and sewer. If it wasn't, they wasn't going to get it, the building wouldn't be there. The building is in the city of Fulton paying taxes, and the merchants there are paying taxes. The parking lot is in the town of Granby. Now that's the attitude that this council and the mayor should have taken in dealing with someone in the town of Volney. And Volney is not that easy to get along with as it was. I still can't understand your thinking in this area. I really can't. And I think one of you councilmen should ask for a resolution to rescind this.
Can't rescind it. There's a signed contract.
Well, if there's a signed contract, then I think the merchants in this city should band together. It'll cost about $700 or $800 to go to litigation and the Supreme Court and have this injunction brought. Thank you.
Okay.
Robin Griffin. Ooh, this is loud. Excuse me. I know your jobs are difficult here, and I understand and follow the controversy surrounding Kmart and the whole strip mall. But I've got to tell you, I would not open a business when down the street I can't compete. Not that I would want to compete with Kmart. And I read the article you did, Mr. Mayor, and it inspired me that Fulton could grow and that we could do things. But according to that article, and it came from the Smithsonian Magazine originally, that town hired a specialist to come in, and that specialist took all the business people and counseled them wisely as to what they needed to do to compete with the big store. But the one thing they didn't have was the unfair sales tax difference. How can the businesses in our community compete when they have to charge 7%, when down the road they only charge 4%? You can't. I can remember a time when there were several liquor stores in this town. The Party Barn was built, it's 4%. I can only think of offhand one liquor store left in the city. I don't think it happened because they were poor business people. Some of those people had been here ever since I can remember. As a child, they existed. I think business is difficult in a small community as it is, but there's things they can do, the rapport, the personal relationships with the community and knowing them. Those are the kinds of things that we can do that maybe a Kmart cannot. But they certainly cannot. How can they begin to even work on a fair playing field when you've given Kmart an advantage? And again, I duly respect the difficulty you had trying to work out an agreement with the town of Olney. But you yourself have been here more years than I have. And there's a lot, I have a lot of compassion for the businesses that have stayed in this town all of these years. And they've stuck it out. And they've tried to compete with Great Northern Mall and now Walmart in Oswego. And there's a sense of you turned your back on those very people. I don't think that was the intent, because I don't think anybody does anything with malice, particularly towards the people that are footing the bills. I don't believe that. But I would ask you to consider what we can now do for these businesses locally in our city that have stayed with us, that have bared through good times and bad times. What do we do now? How do we help them survive in this climate? Because this very town you spoke of brought in a specialist to help those businesses to find ways to draw those people back to their particular services. You can't leave them hanging.
One of the things they can do is exactly what that specialist that whose lecture I attended, is to consult with a man like that. He does propose ways that can be done. For example, he says the one thing you can offer that no discount house can offer is service.
That's right.
Okay? And there are other ideas that he had, and it isn't the end of the world.
But do we stop?
And eventually you're going to see, and I think sooner than you think, that there ain't going to be any separate sales tax. It's going to be a county sales tax. This is the only county in the state that doesn't have a county sales tax.
But will it happen in time? In time to put them on equal footing? Those are the concerns that I have. They deserve equal footing.
And when it happens, then the sales tax will be distributed among the towns and cities by the county. And it won't make any difference where the business is located. We'll all share in it. And you can bet that's going to happen soon. But you're right about the getting help from a specialist. That's exactly the thing to do. And you find there are more ways than you realize to profit from a store like Kmart.
Then I would ask the council to consider taking a leadership role in helping these businesses find out what they can do.
I'll be glad if the Downtown Merchants Association wants to contact me, and I'll certainly be glad to lead the way in finding help like that.
You may find this out of order, but why don't you contact them? Show them that the leadership truly cares in this community.
Because I want to see the downtown merchants show a little leadership themselves. Okay?
Well, we elected you, Mr. Mayor, to be a leader.
How many in that association?
I have no idea how many are in that association.
There's a lot more of them than there is of me.
But I would not start a business in this community right now under this climate, and that's sad. That is sad. I chose to make Fulton my home. I choose to be here. And I choose to try to make it a better place. And I'm certain that every person that sits at this table chooses those same things, or you wouldn't be here. But we can't always sit back and wait for somebody to come to us. We've got to take the leadership role.
I've watched downtown Fulton deteriorate almost since it was organized under the original community property, not community property, the urban renewal. And it's done nothing but go downhill since then. And I can't see where any change can't do anything but help. As for those liquor stores, they were moving out long before that place across the river was started. You know why? Because you had places in Syracuse, like Liquor Square and others, that were selling it at prices much lower. I represented 2 or 3 of those liquor stores, and they were gone before the store across the river was...
Oh, we lost some more because of it. And it just seems, and maybe that's not totally correct, but that's the impression I have, the way things seem to happen in 4%. And I will be the first to admit, I would love to pay 4% over 7. I'm not going to deny that. I would be foolish to go spend $100 at 7% when I can get the same merchandise, same quality at 4%.
Robin, can I ask you, if you establish good customers, loyal customers, do you think if they're going to spend $50 in your store, $50 at Kmart, that a $1.50 tax is going to keep them from coming to you? If you really gave good service?
Yes, I do.
I mean, I've been in business for 26 years.
Only because of the times right now, Ross. I think a lot of people are, they're trying to stretch their money, and people don't think like that. The normal person doesn't equate it to $1.50. They'll equate it to, and don't tell me they're not going to advertise or by word of mouth, they're going to get it out there at 4% because the Party Barn, you know, that's their advantage. And they're right to do that. They'd be foolish not to do it.
I'll give you an example right here in the city of Fulton, okay? In the city of Fulton, you have Tops, and you have other grocery stores, and you have, of course, plenty of them, like in Great Northern and on 31 and 57. Now, there's a store there. Their prices are real low, and it's really worth your while to make a drive there to buy there. But I go to Tops, and I know their prices are higher in some respects because In the first place, they have an excellent fruit and vegetable department. They have very good stuff. They have an excellent bakery. They have an excellent fish, and so on.
I don't argue with any of that.
And they have wide aisles, and it's easy to shop there, and they are very courteous, and you feel good when you go there.
Yes.
That's why I go to Tops. And that's...
You left out the meat.
Meat is terrific. That's all I can say.
Let's get it all in.
Let's get it all in. Anybody here that sells beverages? And that's what I'm talking about. They merchandise.
Up until up the road, they triple coupon, and then a lot of people I know that normally shop Tops run up the road to triple coupon. I mean, that's a fact of life. People are trying to stretch their dollars.
I don't think so.
Well, I'm sorry.
Because those people are not going to Tops anyway. They're going to Price Chopper, they're going to Great Northern or the store at 31 and 57. That's where those people are going.
Well, okay, I'm not going to argue the point. I know enough coupon people, and they go here, and they do shop Tops. But if a better deal comes along, they run to the better deal, and there is no tie to that merchant that they've had good business relationships with. They don't think in those terms right now. A lot of people can't afford to. A lot of people equate that $1.50 to a couple of loaves of bread.
Right, but by the same token, can you build a wall around the city of Fulton and tell people you have to stay here?
No.
I think what we were looking at was stimulating growth on the outside so the inside would grow. We weren't trying to take business away. And it will happen. If you look at any small communities that had dying downtowns like we have, they built around the town and then the inside grew with the outskirts. If you have people going to Kmart, they're going to come into the city. The more activity you can bring to an area, the better it's going to be. Look up at Great Northern. Well, you go across the street to the mall there. Then when you're there, you go over to Seneca Mall, and people just travel around. That's what we're hoping is going to happen here.
And I understand
as far as downtown merchants, I've been in the stores. I went with a petition last year to get people to sign it for parking and for other issues. Do you know, I had store owners tell me they didn't want their name on the paper because they didn't want to be recognized. So things have been tried to be done, but we get closed out.
Okay.
I went in the store and I said, no, I don't want my name on there.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, it's just...
You can't wait.
We don't hear that.
And we are working. We're in meetings all the time trying to stimulate downtown. But the merchants also have to stimulate their own businesses. It has to be a partnership type thing. One of the things that we've talked about is the downtown area. One of the things that Fulton lacks is an access to the stores. You have the one large parking lot, and the stores that are stuck in the middle have no access. And we've been talking about possibly opening up some of those one-way areas to allow more of an access. Right now, if you turn onto Oneida Street and you want to go back to one of the other stores to the mall, you can't get there unless you go all the way around the city, around the bridge. So people aren't going to do that. What they're doing is just going somewhere else. So I think part of it has to be part of the city, but part of it has to be part of the owner of the businesses. Well, they have to do things that are exciting to stimulate business, to get people there, and we need to get businesses there that are exciting.
But we need some leadership to help them formulate direction. And I'm telling you that when I go and travel, and I'm not talking locally, I go and travel, if I see a nicely aesthetic area, flowers, awnings, whatever, nice window displays, I'm parking, and I'm going in and I'm looking, and I'm paying the money to spend there.
We tried to redo the downtown to put new facades on, and not enough people wanted to participate to improve their stores, so we could not get the grant. So you have to look at the whole picture. We've tried things. We had a meeting last week. We had a meeting a month ago. We have another meeting coming up. The issue isn't dead. You know, it's ongoing. No, we're also concerned.
I've been trying, since I became mayor, to open up First Street. I haven't had a single word of support from anybody in the business section downtown. I haven't had a letter from anybody. I haven't anybody appear here at a meeting for any support. Not a bit. They're all in favor of it, but nobody wants to do a thing about it. And you can't wait, except Al, and you can't wait until downtown is totally dead until you do something.
then I would only ask that we find
it's
out
well
what's
on
wrong
its
with the
way.
communications.
Okay,
If there's a communication problem, then maybe we need to devote some time to
Okay,
figure out what
and
that
another
is.
point, just to tell you about business. I work in a business in Hannibal. We started out with 2 people. There was no business like ours there. It wasn't offered. But everybody in that area was going somewhere. We've been there 6 months, and we've had to hire an additional person. We have 3 people now. But we're giving service. We're showing that we care, and we're taking people from other areas. The downtown area could do the same thing. Like the mayor said, it's got to be service and something that people want that's better than what someone else is offering them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, my name's Don Bullard, members of the council. I'm a little bit surprised at the change or somewhat seeming change in the attitude of this council over this issue that we're discussing. The issue is helping someone build and compete against our existing merchants on the edge of town, because that seems in conflict to what went on in this council this spring with regard to hot dog vendors at Bullhead Point. It seems that everyone was afraid that hot dog vendors at Bullhead Point would ruin the food business in this city, so this council passed a license fee of $750 because the hot dog vendor didn't pay taxes in the city. Now we're providing, at a 25% markup, water and sewer to a non-real property taxpayer and a non-sales taxpayer on the edge of the city. And it doesn't seem to make sense, and it seems to be in conflict with past history on this council. The reason I have concerns is because suddenly the retail business is not at a level playing field, and the city of Fulton, because of mutual aid agreements for one, will be required to provide fire protection for that development. Because
that isn't true. Wait a minute.
The mutual aid agreement, Mayor, will require that Fulton, and we have the fireman present who can talk about that, the chief.
Oh, on your county mutual aid program, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in effect, we're providing fire protection. The people that shop in that development, unless they're coming from the south, will have to use city roads, which presents a problem for our traffic department and the Fulton Police Department. Again, we're indirectly providing services to these folks with nothing but a prospective, gain that we might help the downtown. We were concerned about hot dog vendors, and we charged a license fee. We're giving water and sewer to Kmart, or the development out there, and not charging anything but the normal cost for water and sewer to anyone outside the city, and I have a problem. I heard the word lawsuit mentioned 2 or 3 times, and I don't think that this council needs a lawsuit over this matter. And I would ask that this council have a full and open discussion and repass the resolution to avoid any litigation from citizens or to avoid any litigation from the developer. Plain and simple. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Don. First of all, we can't rescind the resolution now because there's a contract in place. I might also suggest to the merchants who might be thinking of an injunction that if you get an injunction and you stop their construction and you stop that project and then you lose what you're going to, then you're going to be liable for all the profits that they lose. You're going to be liable for all the expenses that they've incurred to the present, which is well over $100,000, and all the profits they may make in the future. And that could be millions of dollars.
Do you accept the liability for the loss of $500,000 in sales tax? Will you accept that?
Are you going to sue me for that, person? You go ahead and sue me, baby, and I'll own all of your property.
You accept it?
Yeah, Phil.
1 year from now, I'm going to come back here.
You go ahead. You go ahead and bring your lawsuit. I hope you do.
Mayor, council.
You won't even be able to buy a set of golf clubs.
Citizens.
Yeah, Phil.
You know, this thing hasn't just come about, okay? Mrs. Allerton was the mayor of the city of Fulton when they originally sold the 4,000 gallons of water to Whitewater Development, which was Mr. Raleigh and Mr. Clark, and I stood up here at that time and I said, we're making a mistake. Now this is 5 years ago. And the council that was up here told me to sit down and shut up. We're not making a mistake now. All of a sudden, it's a political brawl now. We made a mistake. We gave them 4,000 gallons of water. We had 2 anchor stores at the time, Kmart and the Fashion Bug, and a few smaller stores. Why do we need the additional 7,000 gallons? We putting in a grocery store now? I'm led to believe there's a grocery store.
Grocery store and a fast food store.
Now we got a grocery store. More competition for the city of Fulton, okay? Why do we constantly sell off the water and sewage, our only saleable asset in this city, and we shoot ourselves in the foot every time we do it? To trade off $5 on sewage for $500 a day in sales tax is ludicrous. And you gentlemen know I've been up here complaining and bitching about this every time it's been brought up. And still you go in the back room, you discuss it, and you pass it. That is not right. And I think you should resend it. If the merchants have to put a stop on that project out there, I think they should do it.
Yeah, well, let them go ahead and try. As I say.
Because what you did was illegal, gentlemen. You did it. It was illegal.
No, it wasn't.
It certainly was.
It wasn't.
We'll find out.
Okay.
No, Phil, one thing that I've heard people say is competition. Why is everybody afraid of competition? I've been competing for 26 years and made a living. Why can't anybody else? And I compete against probably 500 salons in Oswego County. I make a living.
You're doing a service.
Russ.
You're not selling.
It's a service. When someone comes in to buy something, if they're buying anything out of a store, you're giving a service. You're selling yourself, along with that article for them to come back.
Russ, that mall is going to be up before Christmas.
No, it won't.
No, that mall will not open till next year, sometime probably in August.
When they plan on starting construction?
This fall.
This fall. Well, usually as a rule, they put them up in about 3 months is correct. I heard somebody say that. You take Walmart out in Oswego. If they want to be in this area by Christmas, you can bet your booties they'll be in there by Christmas. And they'll kill this city.
Want to make a bet?
How much sales revenue do you think we lose down 481 to Onondaga County every year?
Probably a lot, but we don't bring the guy in and park him right next door to us. We don't say, here, use our streets to get to your parking lot so that you can take our sales money.
Yeah, they're going through them anyways to go to Onondaga County and shop. Aren't they?
People aren't going to drive down the city of Syracuse for a pair of dungarees or a shirt or a pair of socks.
Then why is Jamesway in bankruptcy?
Because people are going to Onondaga County because they're...
Jamesway, if Jamesway's smart in the city of Fulton, they would go bankrupt, believe me.
They are in bankruptcy. What do you mean, go bankrupt? Why have the stores moved out of downtown Fulton?
Because the mall area down there is such a bad place to shop. Whoever tore down the city, the Dizzy block down there ought to have his head examined, because that area down there is just blah. There's nothing there.
You got that right, pal.
And how much sales revenue have we lost because that block still isn't down there?
Hey, First Street should have been open years ago.
Yeah, but nobody will support me on it. And you want to keep driving people out of town?
Allerton told me they couldn't open First Street. There's too many bodies buried under there.
I'd like to make a comment if I could.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see it's election year because I'm the third of the three. But I want to change the subject because I'm sure you're getting beat up enough on this other situation here. I want to go back to item number 6 on your agenda, the BAN for the purchase of the building and parking lot. There's no secret that I didn't think that this was a very good deal, and I've spoken about that publicly and privately.
Is there a lease agreement with community development at this time to lease that building?
No, but Vern, I think you're forgetting that this board is the one that runs CDA.
I understand.
Not the director, and this board has decided that CDA will lease that building.
That's fine, but there, at this
And we
point,
will also set the rent.
Okay. I don't disagree with that, but at this point, there is no lease with them.
No, we just signed the purchase offer about a week ago.
My other thing on the same issue is that, and I ran into severe opposition when I was in office in the 1980s with the parking lot situation about the maintenance. Is there something being done on that at this point?
No, nothing at the present time.
Is there going to be?
I imagine, sure.
I think
we're going to have the merchants contribute to the upkeep and maintenance of the parking lot.
Okay. I think that's critical because, as you know, we have a lot of downtown merchants here.
I agree.
Including myself, that are paying an assessment to do downtown, and we don't complain about that.
No, I agree.
But you know, and everybody's talking about level playing fields, and obviously that has to be a level playing field, and hopefully that will be worked out before the end of the year. And then I would like to go to discussion item number 6, which is city administrator.
Right.
As you well know, and Mayor Patrick is here, and other former mayors met with the Common Council Committee, which consisted of Ross, Dave, and who else? John Crook. And we sort of hammered out a lot of pros and cons. Is this the same thing that's being brought forth, or is there revisions? I don't know.
Very few changes, and when we have the copies made, why you'll be furnished with a copy.
Okay, but it's basically what we had hammered out with the council.
That's right.
Is a public hearing necessary on this? Or?
Yes, because you make any changes, you've got to do it over again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. David, you said you wanted to make a comment?
I only have a couple of comments.
Yeah, just a minute, Les.
About what went on with the water and sewer. I'd like to take the text of city versus proprietors out of the conversation entirely. We don't have to be Einsteins to see what's going on all over the country. The first thing that's needed any place to bring anything back is jobs. Our city has an extremely high rate of people on assistance program that need jobs. If they have jobs, they have money. Look at the number of houses that are for sale in this city. On every block, there's at least 2. Does that tell you that there's something going on? And not just the downtown is eroding, the entire city is eroding. Property values have fallen at least 30% in the last 3 years in this city. If your house is worth $100,000, you're not going to get 70 for it.
That's not true.
Try it.
Ron, do you mind if he finishes? You want to rebut, you'll have the chance.
Okay, try it, Ronnie. If it's not a new one.
Wait a minute. No, let's not do this.
Now, jobs create money. People with money can take care of properties, Ron. Okay? New, used, whatever they are. And what that does is increases everybody's property values. Now I ask you, any of you out there that have been on vacation any place in this country, when you drive into a town, a city, a village, any place, and I would like to use a place in Canada, because if any of you have ever been there, and when you drive into the city of Ottawa, the first impression you get that this place is so immaculate, how did they do this? It's gorgeous. Wouldn't it be great to live here? The first impressions of when you come into this city are everlasting for people that haven't seen it, trust me. You drive into the city of Fulton from outside if you don't live here, and that certainly is not the impression that's relayed to anybody that passes through here. Why would they want to locate business here? Why would they want to live here? Why would they want to work here? That's a good question. You know, the generation doesn't start with having views of what's going on. You have to go, and you're going to have to back up and look at what caused the problem. how we deal with it has to be changed daily. And anybody that can't change daily is going to be lost, because the world is changing so fast. If you don't change with it, you're going to lose. So it's not a case of who versus who and what's better and what's worse. We've tried closing downtown up. We tried making a mall. We tried everything. This will at least create jobs. It has already guaranteed us another business coming into town, which will create more jobs. It will also create a higher tax base for where it's at. It'll generate bed tax, which will help help our chamber generate more tourism here, which we're after. It's time to look at the overall scope of things and not the narrow-minded vision that's been going on in this town for 20, 30 years. Right, wrong, or indifferent, we are attempting something different.
If you believe that to be true, then why is Super Duper City the eyesore that it is? I'm sorry, I have to ask that. That bothers me.
Wait a minute. If you want to speak, you're going to have to come up in front. Don, he may not be finished.
I think he is. I'd like to just...
All right, well, I think Les got up. He wanted to speak.
I'm sorry, Les.
If you don't mind, please.
All right. Gentlemen, I won't take up too much of your time. I'm not going to argue about the benefits of the advantages and disadvantages of a Kmart coming in. It could help. It could help bring jobs in. It could help my business, too, in some ways. But, and I know that from a standpoint of comparing it with Walmart, our Oswego store is doing better than it ever has, and since Walmart has come in. But, on the other hand, if you look at the downtown area in Oswego, that is deteriorating also. There are a lot of vacant stores, and there are a few stores that are up for sale, buildings that are up for sale. So, but again, instead of, I don't want to belabor the point, it is the difference in the sales tax. If I sell a refrigerator for $600 or $700 and they can save 3% on that, it's substantial, and people probably would go elsewhere to do it if they could save the 3%. On another subject, the mayor spoke about nobody saying anything about opening up downtown. If you remember, George, when you first took office, or maybe just before, we had a meeting of the Fulton Area Partnership, and we talked about opening up downtown, and you said, gee, I don't think it'll cost $1 million. I think we can borrow the equipment from the county, and we can open up that street. We're going to look into it further. And I know that you must have gotten plenty of correspondence from Steve Ander, who has Bruce Jewelers. They've been wanting to open that store, that street for years. And I'm sure that there have been other people that have said things to you about it. And so all these things do have a bearing on what we're talking about now. And now you're talking about, someone mentioned, I think Ross, that the city, inside of the city can be benefited by construction on the outside. Well, some ways perhaps if it's an industry, a factory, or something like that. But you'll notice that all these stores that are being built around the outskirts of Syracuse have only deteriorated the downtown in Syracuse. In fact, we just closed our store downtown in Syracuse, and that's been going downhill for a long time. It would have been closed before this, except that we owned the building. And it's happening, as I said, in Oswego too. But so all these things should be taken into consideration, and especially the difference in the sales tax. That is where I think most of us have a complaint about, and if we could only do something about that, that would certainly help our whole situation.
Thanks, Les. I get on, excuse me a minute, Don.
I will.
I get on Oswego quite a bit, and boy, I don't see a lot of vacant stores down there. I'll count them next time. As for Syracuse, that's been deteriorating for so many years, long before the malls on the outskirts were starting, for a very simple reason, and that is that your life's in peril if you are foolish enough to go downtown. But as far as, look, honey, if you want to speak, just come up front and take your turn, will you please? Instead of cat calls, do you mind? You know, it's very easy to sit back there and cat call, but it takes a little different to come up front and speak what you have to say. Okay. And as for First Street, yes, Steve Amdur has consistently and persistently advocated opening it up, and he's the only one. I haven't had any calls from anybody else, Les. I'm sorry. Not a single person downtown, much less the president of your association, has ever approached me and given any support to opening up First Street. And unless you do, unless the council knows that there is support for it, it ain't going to happen. That's pretty obvious. Don?
Mayor, just a quick point in response to Mr. Halstead's comment.
Yes.
Residential real estate values have in fact increased somewhat over the past 3 years in the city of Fulton. And if you'd like the statistics, I'll be glad to furnish them to you.
I certainly would.
Incidentally.
Call me.
Incidentally, too, you might be interested to know that the cost of welfare since 1990 has increased by 30% in the county of Oswego. Dick?
Mayor, gentlemen, interesting point about Ottawa. It's a beautiful city. Now, did you go next door and visit Hull?
That's why they put the bridge in there, Dick.
It's another province, and the financial backing for Hull is so different than Ottawa that fantastic. Now, a point that bothers me a lot is the tax situation that Fulton is in. We've been in trouble with taxes for a long time, and we're in worse trouble. There's a lot of things need to be done in Fulton. We don't have the money to do it. However hard you fellows work to discipline the dollars that we have, there aren't enough dollars to go around. And the industries are petitioning for reduction of tax. I fully understand that. They've got to stay competitive. We just heard tonight a plea for a reduction of forgiveness of some tax. And so here we're in a situation, we're going to give away our playing card, our real asset, without a return, we don't get any general tax from this proposed mall. We don't get any sales tax from this proposed mall. It's going to attack the businesses that are in the sales production businesses that exist in Fulton now. Okay, let me give you a thought on this. Given a retail business, hypothetically, let us say my business does $10 a year. So there's a sales tax and the $10 a year. Say that my business has a break-even point of $9 a year. Say I lose $1.50 because the competition from outside the city comes in and sucks out that much. You say, well, it's $1.50 a year. Puts me below a break-even. So it forces me out. So it takes not only the $1.50 worth of sales tax, it takes the whole 10. There's a little loss against a retail business can wipe out the whole business. Now, a well-run retail business, if they can deliver 5% profit on gross, they are an excellent business. Kmart doesn't deliver that. They're a good business still, but they don't deliver that much. Sears and Roebuck doesn't deliver that much. I mean, it's a tight wire. So you take a little away, we'll go the whole thing. So what we're doing, we're taking away, we're losing the industrial property tax we have. We're giving up the general tax by supporting something outside of our city. We're placing the city and the sales-producing businesses in jeopardy where they won't be able to produce the sales tax to help the city, to run the city. Where are we going to get it? We're going to go to the property owners. We're going to all the guys who live here and all the gals who live here and say, hey, I'm sorry, but you've got to come up with more money to pay for these things to make us Ottawa and not Hull. I truly hope that you gentlemen think about this. And you're saying this cannot be changed. Well, somewhere along the line, somebody told me that the 4 4,000-gallon thing was rescinded, and the other agreements with these people were rescinded.
Dick, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You've been here all during the meeting, right?
Yeah.
How many times have you heard me say there's a signed contract?
I've heard that, but was there not a signed contract when the 4,000 gallons happened?
No, there
It
wasn't.
was just in a resolution.
There wasn't. No, as a matter of fact, the fact that there had been any action taken in their construction made it impossible to rescind that anyway without being liable for a lot of damages.
They've taken, since Tuesday, they've taken action in their construction?
No, but there's a signed contract. And you can't violate the contract. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Have you been able to compete successfully with stores in Oswego, and the malls in Oswego, Great Northern, and Syracuse?
Easily?
No, I say, have you been able to?
Well, we compete.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do you think
it's
going to be any different with Kmart? You don't have the same kind of goods that they sell.
George, it just, you know, you spoke about the...
Wait a minute. No, answer that question.
Let me answer your question.
Yeah.
You spoke about the erosion of business southward to the malls in Syracuse. Now, you're going, there's a...
No, that isn't my question, Dick.
All right, what's
My
your
question is, if you can compete with the malls in Oswego and Syracuse and Great Northern, why can't you compete with Kmart? They don't carry the same stock of merchandise you do.
It just adds to the load of drawing people out of our
I'm
shopping
talking about
district.
your business now.
I'm talking about my business.
All
If
right.
you draw people away from my business, it makes it harder for me to compete.
Why, when you don't carry the same merchandise that they carry? How can they compete with you?
George, a pair of socks sold is a pair of socks sold.
Oh, that's not true.
Yes, it's true.
I've been in
Sure,
Kmart,
it's true.
and I've been in your store, and it isn't the same thing.
It is. I didn't say it's the same
That's why I
thing.
don't
but
go to Kmart.
if you draw people out of an area, then now, all right, let me put it this way. Why do the big malls need anchors? To draw people in. If you take the anchors away, the malls die.
I don't follow you, but...
Oh, well, believe me, it's a true premise.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with this question?
How's the guy doing? Let's look at the Penn Can Mall situation. You know, he's right about
Right.
Yeah, no,
Now,
I agree
the
with you.
anchors left Penn Can Mall
Yeah, but
is gone.
what's that got to do with this situation?
It's the drawing of customers away from a given area. We all depend on traffic. There's impulse buying in the retail
You don't
business.
have any traffic down there. How can you
I'll have
depend-
less if you do what you're going to do.
How can you have traffic when you're on that mall downtown?
I'm going to have less, George, if you do what you do.
You're going to have less than nothing. That's still nothing. Because you don't have any traffic.
I never thought of the city of Fulton as nothing. I think it's a very important area.
I'm talking about... Shut up, Ross. You want to speak, you make you wait your turn, and you can come up and speak.
What I'd like to see you gentlemen do is hold this off for 30 or 60 days and give the public a chance to understand what's going
Dick,
on here.
there isn't anything we can do.
Well, I find that hard to believe.
Well, talk to your lawyer. Ask him what a contract means, will you? I'm sure you know. You must have signed lots of them.
I know what a contract means.
Well, all right. Well, there is a written
And I know what
contract.
agreements are, too, and they can be changed.
An agreement. You can't be naive enough to think that a signed contract can be changed unless both parties agree to it. You've been in business how many years?
George, I'd like to read the contract. I don't know how...
I'll be glad to give you a copy of it.
Fine, I'd like to read it.
Sure. Be glad to. Okay?
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Bergen.
Phil, wait, is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet that wants to speak?
My name is Joe Farrell, and I'm also a business owner. I own several businesses in the city of Fulton, and I'm also a property owner in the city of Fulton. And I have some real grave concerns about this decision that was made here. One thing that I would like to say is that the commercial property where we have businesses in Fulton is not exclusive to the downtown area. There are other areas in the city of Fulton that do have businesses and bring in substantial sales tax and property tax revenues. a major concern that was brought up by some other individuals I would like to reiterate, and that is the concern of the level playing field, the 4% versus the 7%. And I want to say that I don't think that most of the merchants who have been in business here for several years are concerned about competition. I think that we probably have all stood to competition, but you cannot compete with stores that are selling their merchandise at 4% when you're selling your merchandise at 7%. And certainly the point that Dick Bergen makes about people going to Kmart, people are sometimes not that discriminating in what they're buying as far as whether or not the clothing is exactly identical in one store or another. If they are in Walmart and they buy some shorts or whatever, then they're not going to go to Bergen's and they're not going to buy those shorts or that skirt, and he is going to lose that business. That's just a fact of life. That's the way people shop, and that's, you know, the reality of the situation. One thing that I would like to mention is something that Mayor Villette mentioned about speaking with the expert that came. I was also in the audience that night, and I believe that the gentleman was a professor from Iowa. And the gentleman did say after the meeting, when I went up and questioned him about my concerns as a business owner in Fulton, he said, well, I want to tell you this, that you can't compete. If you're a direct competitor and you're selling the same goods in your store, you cannot compete with a Walmart or a Kmart. He'd been doing the studies for several years. He said, it's no competition. You will go out of business. It's a fact. And also, some of the smaller stores that sell similar goods, they will go out of business. Some stores, you're right, will benefit. Some of the food stores will benefit from having, you know, more traffic in the area. But very definitely, he made that point very clear to me, that some of the towns that he studied, very definitely stores that had been long-time businesses in those areas folded. And that is certainly a major concern of mine because, as others have alluded to, we have the few paying for the many right now in the city of Fulton. And we can look toward a level playing field with the county tax becoming, you know, 7%. But the reality of the situation is I don't see that coming in the very near future, and I don't see it coming in time to save the businesses in this city. And right now, we cannot be burdened. The businesses and the taxpayers cannot pick up more of a burden than we have right now because the few are paying for the many. And it's just too much. It's like this is the straw that broke the camel's back. In closing, and in all due respect, I would like to say that I really take exception to people of the female gender being referred to as honey in a public forum.
Some of them take it as a compliment. One thing you forgot to say about the professor who was the expert about the places that closed, and he did mention that in the open session. It wasn't only to you that he mentioned it, that it was the stores who tried to compete with Kmart and Walmart on prices. That's the ones that lost, because you can't, and I agree with that. You have to compete on a different level, and what he calls their voids, or by offering service that they can't offer. Yes, you try to compete with them on price alone, and you won't make it.
Yeah. George, Mayor, Mrs. Farrell, you're right about that you can't compete, and we went to a conference and they said, no, you will close, but some of the things that merchants need to do in a small community, a downtown, is do more creative advertising, offer better service than what the mall is offering, different merchandise and more diverse, and the big thing was better hours, longer hours. And a lot of small towns, the stores close up at 5 o'clock, 5:30. That doesn't give people time enough to get home, change, have supper, and then go out and shop. And they said stores that open up longer make a big, big difference. And again, I can only speak from experience. 2 weeks ago, we extended our hours in the business to 7 o'clock from 5 o'clock, and we increased our business by 30% by doing that. So try some of these things and just become a little more creative and more flexible in how you're running your businesses now, to see if maybe if the merchants could get together and say 3 nights a week, you're all going to stay open till 7 and see what happens. But you can't do it for just 2 weeks and say nobody showed up, so we're closing up. You have to get people trained to the idea that this is something new, and you're there to accommodate them. It's an idea.
And I thank you and I respect your suggestions, but I will say this. I want to reiterate that all of the businesses do not operate with the hours that you're speaking of, and I personally am not part of the businesses that close at 5:30.
Yeah. But a lot of reasons why the people go to the malls because they are open till 9 o'clock.
We also have legal hours.
And
I am Mirabita Snyder from the Chamber of Commerce. You know, the Chamber represents both the merchants in town and we also represent the industries that are here. I think that there have been some really eloquent arguments that have been made tonight, and I don't want to restate those. I think that we've had some really wonderfully articulate people. Joe Farrell has been very articulate, Les Goldberg, Dick Bergen. A lot of the merchants who have spoken have really spoken from their heart and have been very candid about what they're concerned about with this proposal. The Chamber's position on this Kmart issue has been the same since the start, which is that the Chamber thinks that growth and progress is terrific, but that it can't come at the expense of property tax holders in the city. And because of the sales tax disparity, you know, the city's likely to get hurt to the tune of maybe $500,000 a year, and that's something that we really can't afford. The one message that I'd like to leave you with is that think that next year, as you're putting your budget together, you should probably plan on some hit in sales tax, and don't plan to go back to the industries, and don't plan to go back to look to the businesses to try to get that sales tax money back, because they're not in a position to do it. Thank you.
thank you. Al?
I feel like a leper who's been put in a leper's colony, and the colony is Canal View Mall. Before my nose falls off, I want to make a few points. Even though I'm supposed to be dying, I don't think Canal View Mall should be treated as a dying area. I think it should be encouraged, not written off. And the reason I say written off is because one gentleman told me we need a bypass to go around downtown. Take 481 traffic away from downtown. That was the first stupid thing I ever heard. The second thing was an overpass. Take the traffic away from downtown by an overpass. 2 weeks ago, a gentleman stood here and said, forget downtown. Don't open the street. Move downtown somewhere else and turn those houses into middle-income housing projects. I mean, is there a conspiracy going on here that I don't know about? It's not my place to tell you what my family has invested in pop-pops. I can tell you it's in excess of $40,000. That was an empty store for 2 years. We're bringing in sales tax. Now, Mr. Belfiore made some points. We should stay open late. My daughter went around with him with this. Malls are open till 9 o'clock. They have security. We don't have security downtown. If we had a foot cop or two walking downtown, we would stay open. But we're surrounded by beer joints. We have drunks throwing up and urinating near our windows. I don't want my daughters downtown under those conditions. It just cannot be open that late. And I'm going to take a back seat to Mr. Bergen and Mr. Goldberg. They know more about retail in this room than any of us. But we have been working at it. Mr. Belfiore said we should make an effort. We have special occasions for everything: Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Easter. We go around to all the schools and pass out letters for the children to get into essay contests. And most of the merchants here will admit that we are bringing some traffic downtown to pop-ups. We're working at it. And we resent the fact that we're told downtown is deteriorating and it's gone, write it off. We know we can't compete with malls. That's what's killing all the downtowns around this country. But we can't specialize. We can't have outlet stores, specialized outlet stores selling particular items, that they have to come just for that item and nothing else. And we give 13 bagels with every dozen. We give an extra piece of candy with every dozen. We give something extra because it's personal. We make deliveries, personal deliveries. So we're working at it. We're trying to get the people in. As far as First Street, it isn't only to bring traffic downtown. Ross said traffic brings business. Well, they have to be able to get down to our stores. They can't see us. So one thing would be to get business downtown, is to get the traffic in. But it's more than that. It's congestion. People getting out of Marine Midland, Columbia Bank, Lock Restaurant, or coming down a Lower Bridge, get caught at Oneida Street. You have to make a right to get out. If you would open First Street south, all that traffic would be heading downtown with diagonal parking. I've said this before, with 25-cent meters. Now you're talking about opening Cayuga Street. First, I couldn't get you to open anything. Now you want to take out the mall altogether. I think Cayuga Street is good looking. Maybe it should stay the way it is. But at least one-way traffic on First Street. Bring in some merchant traffic, relieve the congestion, or relieve that traffic on the corner that is causing accidents. As far as bringing in businesses that will employ people, my wife has been with Price Chopper for 14 years. When they bring in a new store, they post notices and they hire from within and transfer those people that want to transfer. Jamesway does it, Tops does it, Price Chopper does it, and so does P&C. And I was in management with Chase Pitkin. They do the same thing. So they hire from within. So they're not necessarily going to hire us in the city of Fulton. The fact of malls beating us up, right? We're helping them do so by putting another mall in. Now I have 2 points to make, then I'll close. Mr. James Morabito said if he had more parking spaces, he would get more customers. So we're buying an empty lot to give them parking spaces for more customers. And now we're opening another parking lot for a P&C in Volney. So there goes Mr. Morabito's business to Volney. Second point, we said that we wanted to protect our own by helping them build themselves up. But we're getting the blocks knocked out from under us with that 4% tax. We can't compete. My wife is going to kill me for this. She spent 50 cents for gas to go across the river to save a 10-cent coupon. So they will go out of their way to save $1.50. And she works for Price Chopper. And she'll go to Tops with the coupon. Scratch that, Terry. So my nose hasn't fallen off yet, and that business with the contract is what makes me feel like I'm a leper. And the business of telling me that downtown is deteriorated, let's forget it and start somewhere else, I think is really nuts. And I would like to know who voted yes and no and why. That might be nice. Because I sat here last Tuesday in an empty room. This young lady was here. And I left finally. But I didn't know what was going on. So if you would have told us, this is the reason we did it. This is how I feel about it. Maybe we won't be so angry if we get some inside information on what went on in that think tank. Apparently you've discussed it intelligently. You've got all the facts and the figures, and you came to us with an educated response and a vote. So it would have been unanimous. But it wasn't unanimous. That means half of you were intelligent, the other half weren't intelligent. How do I figure that?
What has been said here tonight by me and the others is pretty much what it was all about. Yeah.
And the vote was 3-3?
3-3, and I broke the tie. And that's pretty much, as I say, what it was all about, Al.
And I do respect you all, and I appreciate most of your work.
I feel the same way about you. But I would say that I certainly would love to see First Street open up, and I'm certainly opposed to seeing downtown move to anywhere else.
I've got a pick and a sledgehammer, and my son has a compressor.
I had a assistant superintendent of highways in a large county who was familiar with the situation telling me that $1 million was the most ridiculous thing he's ever heard. He said, I'll take a couple of my big heavy equipment, he said, I'll have that street torn up in a day. And he said, what you're going to have left is paving. I've heard a lot of stories about there's supposed to be all kinds of wires and conduits and everything else buried there. And that's never stopped any city from digging up a street before, if it's true, which I seriously doubt.
NIMO was...
Yeah, right.
NIMO just dug it up.
But a lot of streets have been dug up before and with no problem. As a matter of fact, 481 is a good example. They redid that whole street all through the city of Fulton. So it isn't anything that's impossible, far from it. And it is feasible. And if it was one-way street, it would do an awful lot to relieve traffic on 481 and Oneida Street, not to mention that awful mess on the corner of 481 and Oneida Street. But, as I say, very few have ever supported it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd just like
Yes,
to
John.
say one thing regarding the hotel complex that we'll be building here soon. I received a letter from the attorney that represents them, and I'd like to pass it to Joe and have Joe read it and enter it into the minutes of the meeting for tonight. It's a very short letter, but it kind of spells out the hotel plan and what Wide Waters and them have to do together to go ahead and start their complex. Very short.
Okay.
What's the letter I received today?
This is Reese, City of Fulton Development Plans. Dear Mr. Lincoln, I represent Carmen Emmy and Salvatore Mangano, owners of property nearby the proposed River Glen Mall. It is my understanding that there has been some concern as to the effect of the development of the River Glen Square Strip Mall on the proposed hotel that we would like to build on this property. As you know, we have been aware of the development for quite some time and have worked with the Wide Waters Group with regard to traffic improvements that they are constructing in front of our site in conjunction with the development of the mall. It is most definitely in our best interest, and in my opinion, in the best interest of the City of Fulton, that the project go forward to encourage investment in the city by businesses. As to the concern that the development of the mall and hotel are unrelated, that is not entirely true. Although we have planned for quite some time to build a hotel in Fulton, we are encouraged by the actions of the Common Council in support of the River Glen Square Mall. We now have accelerated our plans and will begin our development sooner than anticipated, largely as a result of the development in the area supported by the Common Council. Very truly yours, Mangano, Uchisi, and Collins. Signed, Rocco Mangano.
This hotel, incidentally, is going to be built next to the Quality Inn. It will wipe out two of the most dilapidated houses in the city of Fulton and the vacant building that used to be, what was it called?
It was J.C. Pierce. It was a Wayside Inn, Major's Place.
Oh yeah, there's four altogether. That's right. The J.C. Pierce building, which is empty, and the other building that's immediately north of it that used to be some bodybuilding place. So there are two empty stores and two derelicts that are going to be taken out and replaced by a new hotel. And that is, believe me, directly due to Kmart Plaza, if you want to call it that. I might also add, I realize that here there's a lot of people opposed to it, but most of the people here have some either personal or political motive for their stand on it. About 90% of the people that I've talked to since this happened are in favor of it. Percy?
Yeah, great. It's going to be in competition with the Quality Inn, who pays no taxes. They pay a payment in lieu of taxes at the present time. And I would imagine that this hotel is constructed, will also pay no taxes. We'll be paying in lieu of taxes.
Not that I know of.
The Sawyer County Agency.
Not that I'm aware of.
Check your tax records downstairs at the city chamberlain, and you'll find out that that Quality Inn especially is not paying only in lieu of tax payment right now, and they've got that for 15 years. And I think this hotel will do the same thing. No way.
Phil?
Could you just tell me when the contract was signed with Whitewater?
I think it was signed, what's today, Tuesday? Last Thursday or Friday.
Can we get a copy of that? Or?
Sure. Yeah. We provided them a copy of what it has for. Sure. All right. I'll see that the city clerk has a copy, and then you can get a copy from him. Anybody from the council?
I got one comment and a question. You talked about when a countywide sales tax goes in, it won't really matter where the Kmart Plaza is located. When the county approached the council with their proposal for a countywide sales tax, they had a figure of something like $3.5 million that they would guarantee the city. That was based on our budgeted amount of sales tax for the city. We dickered with them a little bit, got up to 3.54, something like that. I'm afraid that if this continues to go on and the Kmart Plaza draws sales tax money away from the city to the tune of, say, $500,000, now our budget's going to be $3 million a year, and if the county comes back with a new proposal, then they're going to say, well, we'll guarantee the city of Fulton $3 million because that's what you're getting now. And we're going to lose that guarantee.
But you have to remember this, the county does not have to guarantee anything on a countywide sales tax.
They come back with nothing.
They may come back with absolutely zip to the city.
Well, that makes us feel good,
okay,
too.
Then. I think that...
I'm just saying that this is what we could be up against when it comes to renegotiating this whole countywide sales tax issue. I also like to ask the city clerk if the minutes have been drawn up of that meeting, typed up. Have the minutes of last Tuesday's meeting been typed up? No. If they haven't been typed up, then obviously they haven't been signed. According to our charter, no resolution is in effect until it is signed by the mayor or no action taken for 10 days, I believe it is. So we still would have a chance to redo or rescind that resolution. If we so desire. And to put it before this body, I'd make a motion to rescind that resolution and see where it goes.
I'll second the motion.
There is also some information that I have found out that isn't the same as what we were told last week, whether it's part of Wide Waters or part of the information about stores in the city of Fulton. And I'd like to find out firsthand about the facts that were given to us last week. And if they're not true, then we should stay with our position. And if it is true, maybe what we did last week was the right thing. But until we find out for sure.
All right, there's a motion. Let's have a roll call vote.
This is to rescind it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim, what facts were you referring to about information we were given?
The stores that were going out of business in the city and some other information. I'm trying to answer his question. Okay. And some other information concerning the whole Wide Waters area and what's happening with that.
I know that.
So would you want to verify that information before you move a motion to rescind the one we did last week? I thought you said it would be based on that information. You just said based on the information that we were given last week that you were not sure of whether it was valid, that's why you wanted to rescind this resolution that we passed last week for the water. But you're saying you don't know whether it's true or not, so why would we rescind a resolution if we don't know if the facts...
Because once the minutes are typed up and the mayor signs them, then what he said about being part of the agreement, us not being able to rescind it is true and it's done. If we rescind it tonight and then decide later on that it's in the best interest to go back and do the resolution, then we can always do that. We can do it as many times as we want. We can't undo it.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote on the motion to rescind.
May I say something?
Sure.
One of the businesses that we did here was going out of town. I made a call to Lester Goldberg because, you know, we heard the rumor that Goldberg's was going out of business. Well, I called Lester and he assured me that, no, he was going to stay in business until he retired. I mean, that's all that, you know, that's all that I know about the one business that we did hear about.
That was one of the ones I had in mind. So
as far as the 5 and 10 goes, you know, I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is that that was one of the things that was discussed last week. Obviously, that's not true now. I think we ought to find out what else is not true that we found out last week before this is a done deal.
But why didn't you do that before tonight's meeting?
Because when this first came up, and George mentioned about businesses downtown going out, I looked over to Lester and Dick, and they both went like this. I think we should take our time on this, not rush into it like we did last week, and find out the facts.
Well, you got a motion on the floor, and let's vote on it.
Motion to rescind the resolution of August 31st regarding the City of Fulton providing the River Glen strip mall with 11,000 gallons of water and sewer.
Ann had a question before we take a vote.
We have a motion by Alderman Myers, a second.
I did, yeah.
By Alderman Rice. First ward.
No.
Second ward.
Yes.
Fourth ward.
Yes.
Fifth ward.
Without seeing the signed contracts of what they are, I'll abstain from a vote.
Sixth ward.
No.
Mayor.
No.
Is the contract, Mayor, was the contract you signed legal without the minutes being done or signed legal?
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Without the minutes being signed by you, don't seem like any action can be taken on anyone's behalf.
I really don't know. Well, you're drawing a conclusion that may not necessarily be true, because the resolution authorized me to sign a contract.
That's exactly what I would like to know myself, Ron, before I vote.
Joe, the resolution is defeated. It is. You got three.
Okay. Yes.
George, this is just pertaining to the extra 7,000 gallons. We're still locked into the 4,000 gallons. Is that correct?
No.
There was nothing ever done with this 4,000?
Been rescinded.
We rescinded the 4,000 gallons.
Yeah, but the 4,000 gallons was passed.
Right, but we rescinded the 4,000 gallons of water and sewer to Bruce Clark and to Larry Rowley. We rescinded those two resolutions, okay? And then we passed one for Wide Waters for 11,000 gallons of water and sewer.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
We have a vote of 3 no, 2 yes, and 1 abstain.
The motion is defeated. Okay. Motion adjourned to executive session.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second.
I'd like to just say something. I think that the businesses do have a personal interest. After all, it is their money. But every time another local business goes out, the taxpayers have to pick up the difference in the money. So I think that they're just thinking of all of the people. And as if you've talked to many experts, I talked to people 2 years ago at Price Chopper, and James Way isn't bankrupt, by the way, locally. It's a mess at the top, so it has nothing to do with Fulton. But I've talked to some experts, my experts, who've told me that what's going to happen is that Price Chopper and James Way are just going to close down, and you're just going to have Kmart and PNC. This area isn't big enough to support both, so you aren't going to create more jobs. You're just going to transfer the minimum wage jobs from one part of the city out of the city. That's up to the people. I don't care. I don't have any questions on the water and sewer, but I want to ask the media this, or the Common Council. On the meeting last Tuesday, did the Common Council notify their newspaper, the one newspaper that they deal with? Did they notify them ahead of time of the meeting?
All the media was notified.
The media received notice ahead of time? Is that true? The media is present. Did you receive a notice before the meeting last Tuesday? An executive session, but not a public open meeting.
The meeting has to be open before they can close it, but
Okay.
it's an executive session to discuss contract negotiations.
Contract negotiations. So,
Contract negotiations.
okay. Well, then I'll have to check it out because I live on West First Street South. And let me just tell you something. I now was very angry at my alderman, but I think he might have been in the dark too. For the benefit of people that don't travel West First Street South, last Monday and Tuesday they paved it. That's wonderful. But they didn't notify the people, and there was an elderly person who missed a doctor's appointment because she didn't know that the street was going to be landlocked. I suppose that's not important to the people who make the decisions. For 42 years, there has been parking on West First Street South. For 42 years. On Thursday afternoon, I came home, and on utility poles were signs that said, "No parking anymore." I was leaving on vacation, but I can trust you that it was very upsetting when for 42 years you can park on a street and no one has the decency to tell you. I tried from the state of Maine calling, but I couldn't get a hold of the policeman that I needed to.
Why didn't you park in the parking lot?
Why didn't I park in the parking lot?
Apparently it was...
Well, I'll tell you what. Every single person that I've talked to has been very unhappy, said they don't think it's fair. They said after 42 years, they think that the politicians who want to be trusted should have let the city residents know. And if Mr. Rice wants a petition or a lot of phone calls, I can generate that from him.
Well, Mr. Rice was in favor of a public hearing. He did mention it, and I didn't order it, and I'm sorry. It should have been done. I didn't realize it would cause that much dislocation. I really wasn't aware at the time how much space was actually involved, and for that I was remiss, and I am sorry, and I do apologize.
And I did talk to the policeman today who admitted to me that I have no space to park one of my cars now that goes in the road. And he admitted to me...
How could that make any difference?
And he admitted to me that the houses on the other side of the road are a lot further apart. And that people can put in driveways, but on my side of the street, the houses are very close together, and I can't add width to my driveway. I'll tell you what's going to happen now, because it already happened. What's going to happen is people are going to park in the city right-of-ways in their front yard. You passed a resolution 2 years ago that no boats or campers can be parked there. That's going to create quite a problem for me, believe me. Number one.
How does this change the parking in your yard? The road is the same width. How does this change?
What are you talking about, George? I am trying to explain something to you.
I realize that.
You haven't been listening because you've asked questions that make no sense.
Oh, it does make sense. If the road is still the same width, how does this change affect parking in your yard?
The road is not the same width on my side of the road, George.
You're talking about...
The line.
Parking... Well, I understand that perfectly. I understand that perfectly.
Now all of a sudden, this just happened overnight. I got home, and I usually pull in, because this car's in a driveway, they have to go in and out, park along the road. I've always been able to do this. And overnight they paved the road. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this road's paved, but the next day I came in, they had lines there, and all of a sudden you can't pull over anymore. All the cars along this side of the road used to be able to pull over. You could go in a house. You weren't in the way of cars in the driveway backing out and going in. You could pull over during the day now. At night, sorry, at night you can't. Okay. Well, not during the winter you can't. Okay, you always had a place to go there.
Well, you can still do that if you're only... No, I understand the lines. What I want to say is that if you're going to just park there for a short time while a car pulls out so you can get in, you can still do that.
No, you can't.
Why not?
It's illegal because the whole solid line is in the way of my car being parked in and cars going around.
They've narrowed it to one lane on the west side of First Street. There's no way you can park. Park up. There's no way. They have to park on the other side of the street. They have to park on the other side.
Why? Why did they change this all of a sudden without anybody knowing it? Tell me why.
Look,
Why wasn't anybody
we've
notified?
gone through that. I've explained.
Nobody's explained anything.
Well, let me
Let
try.
him explain.
Let me try again. Okay.
Can I say something?
I'm talking.
Let me try.
Let him explain why he.
I'm going to explain.
You explain to me why he did it.
Okay.
Why somebody
Because
told him to do this.
the resolution was offered to us, Mr. Rice suggested a public hearing. I did not call a
I'm not
public
talking
hearing.
about that.
Okay,
Why
what-
was this line changed?
Because the survey found that the traffic flow north was greater than the traffic flow south. Therefore, the 2 lanes going north made more sense than 2 lanes going south.
Why is that? If cars are parked on the north side of the road with the traffic going this way, wouldn't that be worse? How would that help anything? You don't have an extra lane there.
I
Now
don't
you're
know.
putting
You got a
cars-
good point.
Wait a minute. Now you're putting cars on this side of the road with
You
the
got a good
traffic
point. I'll
is
find
Why
out.
are you doing this?
I'll find out. I don't know.
Let him explain it then.
Okay.
I mean, I want to know why this was done. There's got to be some logical reason. I'd like to know why. I mean, I'm pretty logical. I've got a degree myself, you know.
As it was explained to me by the traffic lieutenant on a study, this was done to facilitate
Who made
turns.
this study?
This study has been done on a number of different occasions. Now, we have run into some problems with left-hand turns going onto the streets, and if you can see some of the markings farther up the street, you'll see that a turn lane has been put in so they can do that. Now, that is why that was done. This was to facilitate smooth traffic flow in the area and to do what we could to eliminate the possibility of accidents. That's all.
Really?
It wasn't done to hurt anybody, and I'm sorry that some people had to be inconvenienced.
Everybody on that side of the street for a quarter of a
No,
mile.
it didn't hurt, it inconveniences you.
Inconvenience? You don't know what
If we
inconvenience
have to
is.
inconvenience a few to make the streets safer for many, I'm sorry.
I don't think you did. Listen, you come up North Street, north on First Street, and all of a sudden, you've got this jog in a road. This line goes like this. Now, how is this going to help anybody? All of a sudden, he's driving down the road, you've got a sudden... The line goes like this. What is this?
Where do you live? Between what streets?
I live on West First Street,
No, I mean between what cross streets?
between Chestnut and Walnut. I don't know what the other road is. Walnut.
Walnut?
Yeah, right.
All right, let me see if I can place it. What the street next to KBC is south end side is what?
It's 4 blocks up.
That's Pine. So how far are you from Pine?
Oak,
Chestnut. Can I ask
Walnut.
a question? Where does the road get wider?
The road has always been wide there.
No, as you're heading south, it gets wider as you go down towards
If you're coming north, past,
Right, okay.
used to be Angelo's, right?
Right.
Okay, coming north, if you're going on the right, in the right-hand lane, and you just kept going straight, that line would stay on the right side of the road. It would be narrower than it is now. The road widens on 176. What is it? Now, you've got the snowbanks there. There's only one lane here, which is a narrow lane. Now the cars can't sneak out, look both ways before there'll be more accidents that way, as far as I'm concerned. This is my opinion. I don't know if the traffic department looked into
Let me take a look at it.
winter, you know.
All right, I'll be in. What's your telephone number?
5 days.
I'll be in touch with you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. A vote on the motion to adjourn to executive session. I think we had didn't we have a motion?
I moved it.
Did we have a second?
Right here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.